Welcome back. Today is a day for speaking all things real and raw. There's one problem in the marketplace that I have seen that I'm excited that my guest is going to talk about today. There's a lot of reels on social media. There's a lot of fakeness on social media. And for some reason, there is a standard to what success is. Everyone looks successful. And so if you're not careful, you can think that you're the only person who is struggling. I have never believed that everybody is as polished and as successful as they look on social media. I have always said no. And when I look at it even further, everyone is trying to show their best side. What that really does very well is it makes other people feel like everyone has it together but them. And then everybody is on this marathon, on this competition, on this, I don't know. There's like a competition of who is doing better than who is having the best moments, who's having the best love life, which is really not what life is. And so on this podcast, I love to bring the intersection between real life and business. Because until we bring the life and bring it to business, we're just acting, and acting cannot lead us anywhere. And so today with me, I have Clare, Garner, and Clare really, that's her work. Real and unfiltered, like that's the work. How do we show up on social media and take off all the masks, all the things that we think people need to see so they can see us for the journey that we are on, which really helps everyone because business is not as easy, as simple. Achieve this thing without lifting a finger. Like I've literally seen someone make $1 million without lifting a finger. And I wanted to lift her and lock her up in a cupboard. Like someone was in my messages saying, hey, Prima, I'm doing this manifestation challenge and it's going to show you how to make your first million without lifting a finger. If it was in person, I would get this person and lock them in a cupboard where no one will ever find her. And so this topic is very dear to my heart. And I am very passionate, even angry about this topic. But let's dive into it. Before we get into it, there's one way you can help me during, after, wherever you decide to hop off. And that is choose one person that is acting and send them this video so they can take off the mask and start to be themselves. The truth is there is people who will like you for who you are, for your experiences, for the good, the bad, and the ugly. And those people are struggling to see you because you're maxed up and trying to pretend to be somebody you're not. You're denying them the opportunity to change their life because you're busy acting. You're busy putting up appearances. You're busy smiling when you'd never smile. You're busy wearing a wig when you'd rather be hairless. Like, let's stop the acting. It really ends with you. So one way you can help is really just share this with someone that you feel is lost. They've lost themselves. They don't know who they are. They are just looking at what everybody's doing and they're trying to do that. And no wonder the frustration keeps growing and growing and growing. The second thing you can do is, of course, pause, grab your app, subscribe, rate, review, and all of the things, because you doing that is you telling the universe that there is an assembly here and there is work here and there is something beautiful here that they need to listen. This podcast is specifically for you if you feel lost in life or business and you have no idea what's wrong. You feel stuck, you feel unhappy, you feel things are not working, and nothing makes sense for you. Without further ado, Clare, welcome to this discussion. As you can see, I am more pumped than you are about this topic.
Prima, I love everything you just said then. I was just sat nodding away, like you have hit the nail on the head with all of it, and I'm so excited to be here with you.
This topic is very dear to my heart, and I cannot believe that you're here to talk about it because we're going to rip it apart. Clare is not ordinary expert trying to theorize and fantasize about this topic. She's someone who's been in business for 10 years plus, and she's lost herself, literally had a breakdown with this. And you know the best businesses, they are born at rock bottom. When you reach a point and you're like, okay, if I don't solve this problem, I'm going to die. So that is the point she reached to create this movement, the Real and Raw Leaders, which is really a movement that is meant to give everyone permission to be human, because you know what being human means? It means the ups, the downs, and everything in the middle, and that's okay. And you don't have to get it all and put it in a cupboard and forget about it. Being a human being means whatever problems you have, whatever obstacles, whatever stuff you have that is not perfect gets to be like a spice in your cupboard. And when you start to cook, you get those spices, use them to make a 5-star meal, and that's what makes your meal a signature meal. So let's dive into this topic. Claire, tell us, what is wrong with the way things are being done in the marketplace today?
Oh my gosh. Okay, where do we start? Firstly, I love that analogy. I'm definitely going to be using that. All the spices to make a 5-star meal. So what is wrong with the marketplace at the moment is the online facade that we all feel subconsciously or consciously that we have to adhere to as leaders. We feel that there is this status quo, that there is this a bar that you have to reach and that you have to stay above in order to be seen as a leader, as an authority, as someone with credibility who other people look up to. And what happens, or what has happened, is that we're all here playing at this bar level and we're forgetting that life is everything that happens below it. And then everyone watching us as leaders and watching how we lead ourselves feels the opposite to how we want them to feel. As leaders, we want to empower them, but we're actually doing them a disservice and disempowering them because we're not showing them the full reality of what we're navigating, experiencing, and growing through ourselves as individuals in our own rights.
Why is this such a trap? I see it. Like, why is it so bad for the person who is even leading others? Like, why is it so dangerous? What's the risk that we put the people who trust in us and follow our work at, because we're not showing them that sometimes we cry, that sometimes we're angry, that sometimes things don't work. When a launch flops, we put it behind the curtain. When a launch works, that's the thing to talk about. But then we forget that in their journey working with us, there are all those things that won't work. But how are they supposed to feel about that or okay it if they don't think it's happening to us? I want you to take me more into that and show me how frustrating it can be for someone else that is trying to move in your footsteps, that is trusting you, that is thinking that all they see is what you are, which is really not. It's like we have this leader who's successful and we have just removed their life and only picked the highlights, which is really the most misleading thing to follow. So give me your experience of it, because for me, I've always like lost trust in people who did that. And I've always bought from people who just may not have been the best marketers or whatever, but they just told me the truth and I could just tell what's happening in their life, know what to expect. I always bought coaches that came to the Zoom room and told me, Prima, I didn't sleep last night. So if I am like off or I doze, that's because I didn't sleep last night. My baby was crying and I have no idea how to care for babies. I have always had very much respect and admiration for the coaches that came through and said, I don't have it all figured out, but this part which you need, I can help you with. So take me there. Give me your part of the frustration of this problem, because I just want to cry at this point. It is so frustrating.
I know, it's such a powerful conversation. And I think the best experience that I can give you is my own, of what I experienced on the other side of it. And if I bring you back to earlier this year, 2024, when that's everything then, I was doing personal branding and content coaching at the time. And my business was just starting to boom. I'd only just stepped into that January this year. I have other businesses as well, but I just stepped into that. Just started to make money, just started to gain recognition, started attracting multi 6-7 figure leaders into my world. On the outside, everyone thought, you're rocking it, right? Everything is going great. It's brilliant. It's booming. What more do you want? You are set on the path of success. That was the external representation that I was putting out there, because I thought that if I wanted to build this successful business in this industry, I had to embody that version of me right now, right? We hear that a lot. Embody the future version of yourself that you want to become. Start tapping into those codes now. And so there comes a point where we lose integrity and we lose touch of reality, really, from saying, okay, this is the future version of myself. And actually, this is misleading people. This is not really, what's the right word? This is not really just to say, because it's not something that I am living right now. But we start talking as if it is. And there becomes this blurred line as to where do we stop embodiment and where do we start future visioning and present reality. And so what happened is I got the blurred line. I lost who I was because I was trying to be this future version of myself and keep up with what everyone was telling me I should be. And I got lost in the process. And week after week after week, I would be on the phone to my mentor crying, saying, I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what to do. Why is everyone else flying and having the time of their lives and I'm still here feeling unfulfilled when everyone's telling me I should be feeling happy because my business is doing great? And so that's when I had to ask the question, am I happy? And the answer was silence, because I didn't want to admit it. But when I did admit it, I was able to drop all of the identities, all of the beliefs about myself and about who I was and what I was here to do in the world, and really just say, who am I? Who is Clare behind closed doors, away from social media, away from the online space? Who am I? And I didn't know that answer, Prima. And I had to go into a month of deep self-exploration to find that again. And that's why it's so dangerous to not show the full picture, because people with the best intentions and the best hearts end up losing themselves because they think that everyone else has it all together, when the reality is they don't. They're just not sharing all of it.
I really like that. Everything I see today is the real of life and business. And I personally do not believe that there is such a thing as perfect. And for me, the more I see reels, the more I am unfollowing. The more I see reels, the more I unfollow. I only follow people who look like human beings. And so just to put it out there in case you're in the trap, I know there is a past life, there is a current situation, and there is the embodiment of the person you have become. And so I want to take you there to kind of explain, because there's all these amazing people that help others embody, heal, embody, expand, and all of that. And all of that is done in good faith and with a good intention. But what is the sweet spot between the past, the current situation, and embodiment that would be authentic? Because you don't want to live in the past, and you want to stick to an identity that doesn't serve you. But again, you don't want to live in the future and mislead people. So what's the fine line between those three?
I think
what's the fine line? Yeah.
I think to me, the conclusion that I have come to, and I want to put this out there as well, is I don't claim to have mastered everything. I don't have all the answers, and I don't believe that anyone does. I believe that we're all figuring things out as we go. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we evolve. So the answer that I have right in this very moment that aligns with me and what I stand for in the movement and the change that I'm trying to bring into the world is showcasing what I like to call the messy middle. And I believe that we are all in the messy middle at any given point in our lives, in any area of our lives. No one has every single part of their life perfect. It just doesn't exist. So if we therefore agree with that statement that we're all in the messy middle in some form or another, and we share that with people, that allows us to show the human. That allows us to show the reality. It allows us to show, look, I am not this picture perfect representation of success that you think I am. I still have things that I don't have figured out, that I don't know how to get to the other side of, that I'm still navigating and working through myself. Whilst I have this area of my life that I'm brilliant at. I have this area of my life that actually I have been in for decades, that I have been in for years, that I have spent so much time and resource and blood, sweat, and tears of learning and embodying and stepping into and living, I think is key piece, and living. And for me, embodiment is about living it first, so that we share from that wisdom, not just from excitement of learning something new from someone else. So balancing those two, of sharing your own messy middle as a human and as a leader, whilst sharing your lived experience of embodiment in your own wisdom.
I really like this. I like to say document, not create. When I look at creating content, I get misled. Like, I don't know what am I creating. It's like I have to manufacture things. When I think about documentation, then I just have to tell people what's going on in my life.
Yes,
look, I've been here. This has been my past. This is where I am right now. And this is where I'm going. Like, I'm still trying to figure out what's in the 6D. I'm not there, but like, while I'm trying to figure out the 6D, if you know that you're having problems messaging because you have to use buzzy words and hooks and manipulation, I can really help you tap into your intuition and create a powerful message. I love what you're saying, because now it really makes sense. Like, if you think about it as like that, it may really help. Document, do not create.
I love that.
For you to document, it has to happen. And so the documentation, I think, is an honor of the past, the present, and the future. And that does not make you less qualified, because you're not trying to help people go to the future. You're trying to help people go where you have been. And so personally, I think that's a very good line. I've been here. I'm here now. I'm going here. But if you want to be here where I am, let's go.
Yeah, so powerful. Document.
Yeah, document, do not create, because documentation requires you to fabricate things. Whereas documentation just requires you to look around your life, your business, and share the parts that you feel like your people will benefit from, especially the parts that you've struggled with and what you have found. How can you save them time? How can you save them money? How can you save them pain? All this is really good. What is the line between the messy middle and there is a word. There is people who try to share that, and they make me like they make me get goosies because they're faking it.
Oh, okay.
So what's the difference between sharing the messy middle and fabricating authenticity? Because I have seen that, and trust me, it's bad. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Like, people are literally cooking vulnerability or authenticity. And I'm like, why do you do that? But I can understand that maybe they are trying to actually be authentic. But take us there. What's the difference between fabricating authenticity and this messy middle, which is something real and raw that people can feel and can connect to, versus I'm trying to show the messy middle, but it's really not the messy middle. So I'm just trying to be in a bikini because I think that's the messy middle. Maybe it's not.
Yeah, I love that you asked this question, because I literally documented a reel on this the other day, which was about, you know, the buzzword around authenticity. It's such an overused word now, and I think it's something that I don't think that most people do it intentionally, right? I don't believe that people are out there trying to manipulate others. I like to believe that most people have good hearts, they have good intentions, they want to help others. But we get caught up and we get lost and we get confused as to how to tap into that, again, because of the online facade and this place that we feel that we should be portraying ourselves as leaders. So for me, the messy middle, the real and the raw, is if you were a fly on the wall and I was in your home at any point, would you be speaking, walking, talking, living, breathing exactly the same way as any piece of content that you make? Or would there be a disconnect? Would there be a disjoint? Would I be sat there thinking, are you the same person? You know, like you sat here maybe crying over, you know, your cup of tea now, but over there on your reel half an hour ago, you were dancing around and having the time of your life. And I'm not saying that life doesn't have polarity. Of course it does. But it's about sharing that. So when you're in those polar moments, share them, because we stop ourselves because we feel that we're going to lose credibility, we're going to lose authority, we're going to lose maybe even clients and people paying us. But what I have found is the opposite to be true. We actually connect on a deeper level and a soul to soul level that no piece of spicy content ever could.
I really like that. But I want to go deep because I feel this is important. A lot of people are fabricating the messy middle. I don't even think the messy middle has to be the mess. It can also be when you receive news about your client making a breakthrough, what's the reaction? Do you cry? Do you fall down and collapse? Or do you pop a champagne? Like, sometimes the difference is really, you're trying to show us that you're popping a champagne, but your actual original reaction was you burst and started crying, or you fell down and collapsed, or like, I don't know that even this means you have to be struggling or suffering. It can really just be.
Yeah, the messy middle isn't, so many people get this confused because the messy middle isn't just about the sorrow, right? It's not just about the shame. It's not just about the bad. It's about the fullness. It's about the 360-degree angle. It's about the truth, the reality. It's about pulling open those curtains and saying, this is the full picture. Not just the middle part that you think everyone wants to see. We want the edges, right? We want the full picture, widescreen recording of it, because that's where we get to see, oh, you know, but I didn't know they drove that car. And now I can see it outside of their window out there. That's really cool. I have the same car, you know, just an analogy. But the messy middle is not just about sharing your scars, sharing your wounds, sharing your shame. It's about sharing your fullness and your wholeness and your human. That's it. That's it. It's not some big hyped up thing that needs to be blown out of all proportion. It's actually less is more. It's about coming back to who you really are.
Who you are is enough, and we want that in all its fullness. We want the bad, the good, the ugly, all of it. Let us in. Let us in. That is the thing. So I want to take you now to a point where you actually show us, like, because I know that some of the reasons why people can't show that is because of the conditioning, the patterns, maybe even trauma. People have feelings of unworthiness. People have feelings of I'm too much. People have all this shame, blame, guilt pointing at them. And so for them to be authentic kind of feels like they'll be rejected. And that's a big deal. So I'm wondering, what's the step-by-step process? How do we move from that fear of being rejected, not being cool, not being authentic, whatever the title is, to, all right, I'm not perfect and that's okay, and I'm opening the curtain, you can get in? How do we get ourselves over our own, I don't know, fears to literally go, if you don't like me, that's fine, but this is who I am?
Yeah. It's a good
What's the
question.
process? Give me the process, because I feel like we need to help someone literally move from that. And I think people want to be authentic, they want to share, but they don't know what to share, or they don't know how to let go, or I don't know, like they don't know how. So let's help them. Give me the step-by-step process to achieving that.
You know, it's a really good question, Prima. And I think, again, speaking from my own experience, which I always think is the most valuable personally, is it starts with following your desire. Okay. So a lot of us in the online space, we get caught up with things called content pillars and marketing strategies and branding themes. And we feel like we can talk about certain things, but other things are not relevant, right? They're not applicable. We're going to confuse people. We're going to lose people. We're going to trigger people, all of the things. So what generally happens is we're multifaceted human beings, especially as women. We have lots of desires. And when we pigeonhole ourselves into things like niches and into boxes, we start wanting to break free. We start feeling restrained and confined. And that's when we lose our creativity. That's when we start having those blocks of, I don't know what to say. And the truth is, you do know what to say. You just feel like you can't or you shouldn't say it. Now, that's exactly how I felt. And what I chose to do was say it anyway. And I said, in my head, I said, you know what? I desire to share. For me, it was stories of my past. I desired to share about my abusive relationship. I desired to share about bullying that I had through all of my life, even as adulthood. I desired to share how lost I felt in that very moment. But I had stopped myself for those very reasons that we touched on. And when I just said, you know what, the desire is stronger than the fear right now, the desire is stronger than the fear. If I don't share this, I'm going to continue to feel like this. And I do not want to feel like this anymore. The desire has to be stronger than the fear for you to move forwards. And when I followed that desire with the fear, I have to say, fear never goes away. You just have to choose to follow the other path. I have never felt such liberation in all of my life. Content, stories, reels, talks, podcasts, books, all of it flowed like I had just opened a dam in a river. It was like the floodgates had opened and it was like whoosh, whoosh. And once it started, you couldn't stop it, because it was like I'd unlocked something that had wanted to be set free for so long. And when I set it free, that feeling, that is what birthed my movement, because I knew then that everyone wants to feel like this. Everyone wants to feel liberation. Everyone wants to feel that they can say what they truly want to say and still build the life that they want to build. So coming back to your question, Prima, I don't think, again, in my experience of where I am right now, I don't think there is a magic wand that any of us can wave and say, this is a step-by-step strategy of how you can do this. I think you have to make a decision. You have to make a decision to follow your desire over your fear, and know that the fear will come. It will come with you, but it will get smaller and smaller and smaller the more that you step into your desire, and the more that you free your voice and share your soul and your story.
I love that. I want to share an example or a story. When I first started online, after my bricks and mortar, which was like 6 years, COVID hit, that business and closed, and I came online, and a lot of things didn't make sense to me. Everyone was telling me to batch content. So I would batch content and I would never use it. And everyone was telling me to post at this time and this time and this time and this time, and these are the brackets and da-da-da. And I was like, It didn't feel good. Like I felt like, why does this feel like a prison? One day I just got tired and decided I will post content when it comes. Like if I leave this podcast and I feel like I have a message to share, I'll just press live, don't care where in the world you are, and I will just do that. And I started to look at the content brackets like, okay, an idea of what's shareable. Okay, cool. Lifestyle, that's okay. Business, money, whatever. And so what I started to do was, how could I interpret this in my own way? And I literally got to a point where I look at my life, I look at my business, and I go, would this help the person that I want to work with move one step forward? Would it help them get more grace for themselves? Would it get them trust the process more? Would it get them to want to share their message more? Would it get them to step out of their own head? Would this help them get out of their own way? Would this help them know that being human is okay? And I can guarantee you today, I press the button when I have a message and I type or I go live. I have freed myself from when do you post, what time do you post? I post when I have a message. And if that's a week later, that's fine. I don't put myself on standards of hooks and no, I just speak my truth. And the amount of freedom that I have received from that, I can't even begin to explain. So I really like what you're saying. It's the desire. When the desire is stronger than your fear. In this case, my desire to share the message is stronger than the fear of getting it when people are sleeping or in the wrong time zone, or the fear of not having a hook, or the fear, whatever. It can't even just not be the fear of people not liking you. It's like the fear of getting crickets. It's like the fear of not getting the right whatever the thing is. When the desire is bigger than your fear, you allow yourself to move. But I want to add to that sometimes you're held hostage by patterns, by conditioning, by programming, by wounds of the past. And if those are the blocks, give yourself the grace and heal from those things. Find someone to help you release all that bondage, because it is not easy to follow the instinct and go for what you want if you feel the shame and blame behind your head. Does that make sense? And so in addition to having a desire and wanting to do it more than you're scared, I think give yourself the grace to go and cleanse the past if it's there, because being blocked by the past is real. Baggage is real. Trauma is real. Bad energy is real. So if you have to get rid of that, do that so that you have cleansed yourself of all of the attachment and meanings. Get yourself back to the point when you had just been born. Deconstruct all those programs and get to a point where you can decide what you want and go for it. What would you add there, Claire? What is it that we need to add to the journey of being comfortable with the intersection between being human and building a business? What would you add to that? How can we make it more easier for people?
More easier is don't be afraid to ask for help. It is not a weakness to ask for help. And you can take that in any context that you like, right? If having help to you means friends and family around you, do it. If it means going to local networking events, do it. If it means getting in bigger rooms online, do it. If it means going to in-person events across the globe, like I am in a couple of weeks, do it. There are people out there who want to support you, who want to help you, who want to lift you up, to help you achieve the life that you desire, but they can't help you if you're too proud to ask for help. And for me, this was a big lesson. I always thought mentorship in particular was a sign of weakness. Wow. I thought that, well, if I'm a leader, I should be able to figure it out. I should be able to lead myself. I don't need someone else's help. And so I resisted it for a lot of my entrepreneurial journey. But when I finally embraced it, which was only about 3 years ago now, I had achieved a lot of success prior to that on my own, but it was lonely, let me tell you, and it was hard, and it was very much hustle and masculine toxic energy culture. But when I allowed myself to open up to firstly, I mean, it sounds ridiculous saying it out loud, but admitting that I don't know it all, right? That I don't have it all figured out, and that other people have actually walked the path that I'm walking on, and they're further ahead of me, and they have lessons that I can learn from to help collapse my timeline and help me unlock codes that I haven't yet revealed. Then I can grow quicker, and I can have a support network, and I can feel like, okay, I'm not crazy for having these big dreams that I have. So I think my biggest advice there is don't be too proud to ask for help, because it is actually one of the strongest things that you can do in whatever context that looks like to you.
I'd like to speak to this point because this is exactly what I decided to start doing. A lot of people write content or flip around their messaging to fit a script. You have to have a hook, and you have to have this thing, and you have to hook them in, and you have to also, like, all this structure is good, but when you are out of alignment with who you are, when you're not speaking your truth, when you're not, when like for me, I am not a script person. And so I struggle to use scripts in whatever. All I can use is like a framework, knowing that this is the navigation, and then I go in there and make it mine. Otherwise, if I use any framework, I have to reallocate it and move. Like even these interviews, I had to create an interview that is a Prima type of interview. Not to tell us your stories. So what did you learn? So what should the listeners like? No, let's talk about your business and dissect it so that the person who is listening, who needs your help, can understand it. Because I feel like a lot of people are in the hooks and blinks of copy that it's ridiculous. Because every time you try to do that, like for me, every time I feel being funneled down to do things, I don't do it. Every time I feel like someone is trying to, I don't know, sell me stuff endlessly in a trickery way, I don't do it. Every time I get on someone's list and they get very manipulative, I leave. Every time I feel tricked to do something, I don't do it. The people I buy from are the people who write a post and go, this is my name, this is what I do, this is why I'm qualified, this is what I have to sell, and by the way, it's 20 grand, so if you want it, send me a message. This is the people that I buy from. The people who have like no trickery. The people who are like, this is who I am, this is what I buy. There's a story which I will tell from a moment with my husband where he came running and he's like, I got him. And I'm like, geez, what? He's like, I got your coach. And I'm like, huh? I'd gone through like 6 months looking for a coach and I hadn't got a coach. And he's like, I got your coach. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, look at this guy. That guy was called Takimo. He had his phone. The phone was upside down. He was in a ditch. He was recording and he was like falling down and he was like, can you send me? Can you send me? So this is the thing I have. It's a program and you can join, by the way, just send me a message. And I'm like, what? He was so disorganized. He was so real. He was literally falling in a ditch. And I was like, yes, you got it. This is my coach. Like, he is so disorganized. And I love Turkey, but he's so disorganized. It's not even funny. Like, he does not care for who is watching. He has a message, a mission. He's going to do it, whether in a car, in a bar, in a tree. He will just share the message. And that is what attracted me to that guy. And that is pretty much how I have bought offers. And so whoever told you that you had to have, I don't know what words, you had to hook people in, you had to get them to another bump. Yeah, all that stuff works. But when we get down to the surface, people feel the trickery. They feel the manipulation. They feel the scripts. And I don't know about you, but with ChatGPT and AI and all these things, people are done. They're really done competing with bots and AI. And the more human you can get, the more of you can give us, the better. This is why I really like, for me, I like to help people write their truth. Maybe this is the structure, but what is your truth? And what is your story? And what is your way of doing this thing? And I really just want to say that the moment you keep acting, the moment you keep putting up your brightest face, the moment you keep doing this thing because it's the thing that is working, and following that person because they seem to have 1 million followers, and doing this thing because Amy Porterfield did it, and da la la and da la la. I can guarantee you will get to a point where you hate your life and your business. And I would hate for you to get there. Claire, I want to go to the stages you create, and I want you to tell us more about the experience and what transformation people get from those. Tell me about the stages, the platform, the thing that you do and how it helps people.
So through my kind of void, I like to call it, when I had that period of losing myself, I really realized that my truth was, I had always wanted to be a speaker, but I had hidden away from it for quite some time. And so when I birthed the movement and I started stepping into this new identity, I knew that speaking was going to be a big part of it. And I really wanted to find a way to spread my movement, to share the change in the world that I wanted to create and liberate other people's voices, because it was in that liberation that I experienced the freedom that I did. And so I birthed this thing called the Dare to Share Challenge, which started on Instagram Lives for 30 days, where I was joined by leaders over the 30 days where they dared to share their own truth, their own stories, and their own vulnerability, just as I had done through my breakdown. And it went so crazy. Everyone was in my DMs constantly about, wow, I've never seen anything like this before. This is phenomenal. What is happening here? So I decided to move it over to a YouTube show. And now we have the very first summit, the Dare to Share Summit, which is going to be on the 17th of September. So just a week from now, where I have 15 incredible trailblazing pioneers taking to the live virtual stage and daring to share stories, perspectives that they've never shared before. Again, so that we see the reality behind success, the truth behind all the smoke and the mirrors. So that's going to be my very first summit. I have an in-person event coming up in London at the end of January, and my next summit I'm already booking speakers for, which is March the 3rd to the 7th. That's the Real and the Raw Leaders, the Legends Summit, where I already have amazing headline speakers with hundreds of thousands of people on their reach who are willing to share, again, their stories, their truth, and their vulnerability in the name of changing the way that we view leadership. So I love to give first-time speakers the opportunity to take the stage, because I was a first-time speaker looking for a stage, and it's hard and it's scary and you don't really know where or how to find it. So that's something that I'm really passionate about, as well as creating a community behind it of incredible speakers and collaboration and network, and allowing every individual to share their truth, their story, their vulnerability, so that they showcase their own real and raw leadership and show everyone watching their human behind the perception. And that's what I'm really passionate about doing at the moment.
How can the listener be a part of it? Is it a link they can register to? Is it becoming a speaker? Like, how can the listener be a part of it? The people listening are people who are in business, but they may have something that is not going right. Maybe it's life, maybe it's business, but some of them are really like speakers and leaders and all of that. So what is the thing they need to be doing? Is it come to the summit, or is it become a speaker, or what links are we putting?
Yeah, you can do both. So if you want to be a speaker, I absolutely invite you to come and apply to the next summit, depending on when you're listening to this, of course. But if you head to my Instagram, you can drop me a DM. The link is in my highlights. You can go to my Linktree, my website, info@phoenix-rise.co.uk. I was going to give you the email then. Or my email. My Instagram is Clare Garner Official. Hit me up in the DMs there, or head to the link and apply to any of the stages. It will show you what is available at the very moment. And if you want to watch any of the summits, again, all of the links are in my Instagram or on my website, or just give me a message on Instagram.
We will put all the links in the show notes, so you can go in there. And if she prefers to be emailed, we'll put the email there as well. But if you're thinking, Claire, what did you just say? Where do I go? Just check in the show notes, and we will definitely put every link that shows you how to be a part of the work Claire does, which is really beautiful work. because without this work, everything becomes real and you're in the corner of life thinking everybody has things figured out, but you don't. The truth is, most people are struggling, but they only show the highlight. And so really the message for me from this podcast is refuse to compare your life or real life experiences with someone else's real.
Yes.
I refuse, because it's the fastest way to become miserable and live a miserable life. Clare, as we're coming to an end, what would you like to leave with us? What are your parting words? But before that, the best way you can support Clare's work is to pause and think, who do I know that is lost in the world? Who do I know that is lost in social media? Who do I know that is lost as a mother, as a leader, as a human being? Who do you know that is beating themselves up for being a human being? Who do you know that the vice, I like to even call it a vice of social media and how cool everything is and the Instagram moments and all of that has gotten to, and they feel like a failure, yet the reality is they're just a human being. Who would you love to help by sharing this message with? I want you to tap in the private space and I want you to share this with them and just say, hey, I listened to this episode and I thought about you. Let's give those we care about a chance to be human, to get their sanity back, so they can share their message, so they can build their businesses, so they can show up for their loved one in any way that they chose to. The way this podcast works is it's a triangle. What does that mean? There is a messenger who is Clare. We've seen our message. There's Prima. Prima is like a translator of the message, makes the message more impactful or more felt, deliver the message in a way that the world understands and appreciates. And then you are here at the base as the vessel to transport the message. So I don't take this request lightly, because if you're watching this, I'll guarantee you there is someone that is your first degree connection that their life depends on this message. And so what I would love for you to do is share it. Of course, other than that, share, follow, subscribe, review, rate, whatever the thing is, because that's you blowing a whistle and saying to the world that you want them to be here. It's a show that is going to help people get unstuck, whether that's in business or life. Really, the intersection between life, between being a human being and running a business. Clare, we're at the end of the conversation. What would be your last parting words with us?
Beautiful. Thank you for having me, Prima. I would just like to say that vulnerability is not weakness. And the more that you show your realness, your rawness, and your vulnerability, the more that the people who look up to you will realize that when they experience those things, that they're not alone. And if you can do it, they can do it too. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you, Clare, for being on the show. We really celebrate you, not only for the hour of amazingness, but for the years and years in the wilderness, the sweat, the tears, the frustrations that had to happen before this moment. As best kept secrets, we really celebrate that, because that is the moment that led to this place. So if no one ever celebrated them, we do. So thank you so much for pouring in us and for sharing all of these things. And for you who is listening, for you who is showing up and saying, I'm made for more and I'm here to tap it, I want to celebrate you. And until next time, be amazing.